Hello, my name is Peter Gibb and I'm co-founder of ICU Steps, the intensive care patient and relative support charity. But as a former patient, I really can't begin to imagine how hard it is for our relatives at that time when we're being sedated, pain managed, fighting for our lives while being supported by the multidisciplinary team, and our relatives have to live from each moment to the next, not knowing whether we're going to survive or not, and if we do survive, what lies ahead for us. At this most difficult time, they really do need support, and they also need to be involved in our care where they can be, to try and normalise that relationship as we start to come back to a more normal state of affairs. But our relatives also play an important part in the general ward. Given the many psychological, cognitive issues that patients can face in the recovery, who's better placed to be able to tell whether the patient is acting normally or not? That's something our relatives can really do, and sadly are often sidelined by doctors on rounds. And then of course, when we get discharged home, our relatives are going to really be our primary care providers. They're the ones that provide that continuity of care through the whole journey.
In ICU in 2007, and more important, I'm also a wife and a mother of 3 lovely children. And all of us experienced the gratefulness for my survival, of course, but also the very dark sides of the huge impact, I can tell you, of critical illness and intensive care. The struggle for life became the struggle with life itself. And I wrote a book about it too. But then, meeting and joining the professionals of family-centered intensive care, I can tell you, to me it meant my exodus. Because they really cared, and they listened, and they treated me as an ally, as an expert, and so we're working together right now for improving the care during and after the ICU.
Los cuidados intensivos.
Bueno, yo creo que es en los últimos 20 años el desarrollo de la medicina intensiva ha sido espectacular en cuanto a tecnología y gracias a esto se han salvado muchas vidas y esto es así. Pero muchas veces estamos haciendo de menos el hecho de que todas estas tecnologías son pruebas complementarias que soportan nuestros tratamientos. Y hay un sentir y un latir universal y general de que esto no es sostenible en el tiempo y que tenemos que volver al ser humano.
Imagine you get that phone call. You know, the one that nobody ever expects to get. The one that tells you that somebody that you love has been involved in a serious accident, that they're in ICU, in critical condition and on life support. And so you rush to the hospital, and there you encounter a strange, unfamiliar, and frightening environment. Your loved one is hooked to tubes and machines that are beeping and expressing numbers, and you don't know what any of it means. So seeing somebody that you love in that condition, in that environment, what do you need first and foremost right now? When my family arrived at my bedside and I was on life support, what they needed most immediately was to not feel like helpless bystanders. They needed to understand what this environment was, what was happening, and what was likely to happen to me. They needed the same kind of human kindness and connection that I so desperately needed as a patient. A gentle touch on the shoulder, eye contact, being able to Make those terrifying machines a little bit more familiar. Letting people know what they did. Letting people know what the numbers meant. Letting people know what the alarms were and not to be afraid. Letting them know that even when they needed to take a break, that their loved one was being monitored 24/7, even when there wasn't a nurse by their bedside. Letting them know who you are, you, the health professional, both by name and by role, and explaining your role to them. Because not all of your roles are clearly familiar to those of us not in the health profession. Make the machines an ally rather than a threat. Let the family know how they are protecting their loved one and keeping them alive. Call the loved one by name, whether you are talking to the family about the loved one or to each other in front of the family, because they need to know that their loved one is seen by you as a person. And when you refer to the family member or the family members, don't refer to them by role. This is the mother. Refer to them by name. This is Marion, Kathy's mother. Make that personal connection. It takes almost no time, and believe me, it is one of the most powerful tools outside of science that you have. And it's right there in your heart. So thank you all so much for the work that you do in ICU, because it was people like you who saved my life, and I am eternally grateful. Thank you. Keep your heart open.
Visiting hours are an antiquated way of the relatives to share time with their loved ones. 24/7 access should be given them to the relatives during the stressful time and provide full flexibility for their hours and for their schedule.
FCIC means to me compassion for my patient's story, the answers to the many questions about surviving critical illness, and that empowered me as a patient. Now, professionals, scientists, and patients stand for advocacy for the patient and family-centered post-ICU healthcare, and that is a precious gift to us, to the ICU survivors.
Today, intensive care cannot be defined anymore by cutting-edge technology and adequately trained personnel. It's essential that we add the word care to the word cure, and that we make our ICUs more patient-centered and family-friendly. First, let's use every bit of influence we may have to change the design of our ICU. It's more than time to move to single rooms where a patient can have some rest and enjoy some privacy when they are so sick. The other thing we may change is the environment, making sure that we can reduce the noise, think about the light, the atmosphere, try to make sure that the patient and families really have a place and the opportunity to interact. This is not so difficult to do. Attitude has to change. Attitude towards pain, anxiety, sedation, mobilization, patient visiting times, information. The last thing that needs to change is the language. We need to improve our ability to communicate with patients and their relatives. We need to deliver information that is clear, honest, easy to understand. And this is not so difficult. Just put yourself in the shoes of your patient, and I trust we will all succeed. If we humanize intensive care, we better understand who our patients are as persons. We will be guided through their preferences and values, and our teams will be best placed to care for them and offer them the opportunities of meaningful second lives. Those second lives should really be our top priorities.
Hello, I'm Chantal van Tournout, head nurse.
Hello, I'm Dr. Guido Engels, anesthetist, intensivist. Probably due to the setting of modern ICU, often participation of patient and family is not sufficiently considered. Recently, guidelines for family and patient-centered intensive care were made available by the American College of the Critical Care Medicine and Society for Critical Care Medicine. The fact that these guidelines are not implemented on a routinely basis raised our interest, becoming an improvement project in our hospital.
The FCIC Open Space of April 17th in Amersfoort was an exceptional opportunity to listen to experts, former ICU patients and relatives, and to exchange expertise, a refreshing experience for our team. As we learned through family-centered intensive care stands for the particular approach providing care to patient and his family, the collaborative way of working, respect for the basic needs of the family. To implement the guidelines, the existing LinkedIn platform of the FCIC working group can help us, looking forward to a permanent cooperation.
That's it. Voice boxed in, boxed out. Thought I spoke, but nothing came through to you.
I just remember getting really annoyed because I couldn't speak or I didn't even give me a clip talk. I'd be wonderful.
And I couldn't move. I was very, very swollen and I couldn't move anything. And I couldn't talk.
And of course I couldn't talk. But although I couldn't talk, that was before I'd had my trachea fitted. So why I couldn't talk, I don't know. I tried to talk to people, but couldn't. Nothing would come out.
Nothing comes out. Give me my voice back.